why nobody lives in these 9 empty states. Really interested to see what 9 empty states we got here and see the reason why nobody's gonna be living there and stuff. Let's just straight into this and check this out, man.
The United States is enormous. In fact, it's the 3rd largest country by both area and population. And yet, despite being home to 334 million residents, nearly half of the country remains completely uninhabited.
Crazy.
With more people living in New York City
big.
than the following 9 states combined. Why do so few Americans live in these empty, isolated states, despite many offering stunning scenery? Find out in
2, 1.
And let's hit 5,000 likes for a video on the largest, emptiest regions of the world.
Alright, let's see
Number
number
9,
9.
Maine. Maine is so far north, the people living here might as well be Canadian. I mean, they're pretty much surrounded by our friendly maple syrup loving cousins.
Oh, really?
And the landscape is nearly identical too, with mystical pine forests, glacial lakes, rocky coast, and of course.
Bro, what's going on here? Is this a glitch in the universe? What is this sun doing, bro? What the?
Course, moose. So why is this beautiful state mostly uninhabited with just 1.385 million residents, especially when compared to other East Coast states? It's simple. The climate. This map shows Maine's population density by area. As you can see, nearly every Mainer lives in the south or along the coast, where the farmland is more fertile and the winters are bearably cold. Winter in the rest of Maine is similar to winter in Game of Thrones.
How do you
Brutal
live there?
and never ending. As such, not much industry exists in the vast majority of the state, which is 89% untouched forest. And while Portland is a hip and charming city with great restaurants and a decent economy, Maine is also the most rural state with only 38.7% of the population living in urban centers. So unless you're a trust fund baby who loves driving their snowmobile on Moose,
yo, that would be fun. That right there would be fun.
Said Lake for the 1300th time, the state just doesn't offer much for young people who usually leave in their 20s and only think of coming back to retire. The Pine Tree State has the oldest median age at 44.8 years. Number 8, Montana. With the east covered in farmland stretching farther than the eye can see, and the west full of mountains and glaciers that touch the sky, Montana is a dream come true for any would-be cowboys. It may come as a surprise to hear that
why is it empty then? Is there not many cowboys in America anymore?
That the state houses just 1.12 million residents, despite covering 147,000 square miles.
Wow.
Yeah, Montana is larger than...
Yeah. That's actually a massive place for only 1.8, was it? 1 point something million? Yeah, that's crazy.
Japan, yet houses less than 1,000 square miles. Yeah, Montana is larger than Japan, yet houses less than 1/100th its population. Why is this big, beautiful state the 3rd least densely populated, with just 7.5 people per square mile? Well, as I'm sure you'll be shocked to discover, most Americans don't want to be cowboys. Millennials and Gen Z want to live near bustling metropolises with good paying jobs.
Oh, hell no. What's going on, man? You guys don't want to be cowboys anymore? Yeah, what the?
Jobs and city amenities. Suffice to say, Montana doesn't offer any of that. The biggest city, Billings, barely has 100,000 residents. And some towns are so remote that the nearest Walmart is a 2 to 3 hour drive away. But you know what Montana does have? Overinflated home prices and horrifically cold and windy weather. The negative 70 degrees Fahrenheit recorded at Rogers Pass was actually the lowest recorded U.S. temperature outside of Alaska. And parts of the state see snow 12 months out of the year. So sure, that summer trip to Glacier sounds splendid, but unless you're looking to do a real-life survival challenge on expert difficulty, year-round living in Montana is too unforgiving for most.
That's actually crazy, but what I want to say real quick, right, it's actually mind-blowing to see these places and see how empty some can be. And like how big America is, bro. Like how big Montana is and only 1.something million people in it. Well, what I'm trying to say is when I watch movies and stuff, you always see like people can like disappear in movies, right? So like in America, if someone's committed a crime with someone in like a movie and they want to disappear, fake identity, go and live like up north or whatever and just be off the grid, I can see how that's possible in America, right? Whereas like it's just mental to think, because in the UK that's not gonna happen. Like you could try to go off the grid, but you're probably gonna end up being found because it's so small and everyone's so close together. I actually really like the fact Not the fact that you could go off grid, because I will never need to go off grid, but I like the fact of like how big it is, how much space you got, how much room you got. You're not like, you know, rubbing shoulders with people. I like that, man, a lot.
Number 7. Rhode Island. The only thing Rhode Island and Montana have in common is their population. Because while Montana is massive, landlocked, and full of mountains and wide open spaces, Rhode Island is tiny, coastal, and flat. In fact, it's by far the smallest state at just 1,034 square miles. So although less than 1.1 million people call the ocean state home, that's mostly just due to it being so darn small that there isn't any room for more residents.
No room.
Rhode Island is the second most densely populated.
You guys aren't used to like squeezing in a spot. Hey, listen, you could probably fit the whole of the UK in there. We'll figure out a way. We'll figure out a way.
Populated state with 1,061 people per square mile, and nearly the entire state is urban and part of the Providence metro area. The crowded population is slowly decreasing, however, as the cost of living is now similar to New York, and just about everything the state has going for it, another New England state does better. Number 6. Delaware. Delaware is nearly twice the size of Rhode Island, but at just 1,948 square miles, around the same size as the city of Anchorage.
I would love to live in a place, like imagine living like here, and you just see mountains, bro. Like you kind of like closed in, do you know what I mean? So like you kind of just surrounded by, what I would do to live, like have that view, bro, and lived, it's so sick. In the UK, you just see buildings.
It's still exceptionally small. And while Rhode Island's population is boosted by the mid-sized city of Providence, Delaware has Wilmington with an astonishing 70,000 residents. But why does Delaware have no large metropolises, especially since it houses over 2 million corporations? Well, Wilmington could have been a prime candidate, but Philadelphia, just 30 miles upstream, stopped any notion of that since its location was less prone to storms and closer to the other major cities at the time. Not to mention, it was the birthplace of the country, and the rest of Delaware is out of the way of the I-95 corridor and most historical trading routes, so it's largely beach tourism-based economy, never required any large cities. Plus, the loophole in Delaware that allows companies to pay no state income tax makes sure those companies only conduct business in other states, meaning they don't actually create jobs in Delaware. But hey, retirees don't need jobs and love beaches, so they're moving in droves. The population of 1.02 million actually grew by 1.4% over the past year. Number 5,
retirees.
South Dakota. South Dakota, home to Wall Drug, one of America's most famous cultural landmarks. Wait,
really?
Wall Drug? What? No, I meant Mount Rushmore. Sorry, after passing literally 200...
Yo, I was gonna say, bro, what? Bro, I was gonna start asking a question. What the hell is that? But this is beautiful, man.
Billboards talking about the place. Wall Drug is most certainly not worth the hype, but impossible to forget.
Wait, I thought it was like a pharmaceutical place. It's a fast food?
Is most certainly not worth the hype, but
fast food? Huh?
Possible to forget. Damn marketing schemes. The fact that Wall Drug is the most exciting thing for hundreds of miles, however, says a lot about South Dakota. It's vast, far from everything, and virtually empty. Not to mention, really cold. And those are the exact reasons why it's the 5th smallest state by both population and population density, with only 909,000 residents.
By the way, let me know if you guys live in any of these 9 empty states. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys will. Let me know what it's like. Let me know what it's like being so empty.
To put that into perspective, South Dakota's surface area is 17% larger than Florida's, yet it has fewer residents than the city of Jacksonville. Historically, most of the Great Plains states had no need for major city centers as their populations were mostly rural and economies mainly agricultural and mining based. But driving through the fields of South Dakota feels so much lonelier than in Nebraska or Kansas. There's just less everything. Right. Houses, farms, truck stops, and semblances of civilization. Number 4, North Dakota. Think of every problem plaguing South Dakota. Now multiply them by 10, add some oil, and boom! You've got North Dakota, home to the darkest, coldest winters in the lower 48. In addition to hot and humid summers and terrible flash flooding during the spring, it's no wonder less than 780,000 residents live in this during the spring. It's no wonder less than 780,000 residents live in this lonely state. state,
Wow.
especially since South Dakota is prettier with better weather and tax laws and a more diversified economy.
You know what? It's actually crazy. Some cities in the UK are coming close to North Dakota with size. That's actually mad. That's actually mad.
North Dakota is also incredibly isolated from major urban centers. And
in fact, I wonder what the largest population is. Going to have to be London, right? But I don't actually know. All I know is like from my birthplace, Nottingham, that was when I last checked like years ago. It was like 350,000, maybe 400,000. And that's not really a big city. It's a bigger city in the UK, but it's not that big. Like compared to the big like Birmingham, Manchester, London, and stuff like that. So,
economy. North Dakota is also incredibly isolated from major urban centers, and thus supplies and services. Historically, settlers who traveled west didn't stop until they reached the coast, where the land was more arable, resources more rich, and the climate less harsh. So North Dakota never had large enough permanent population numbers or industry to warrant big cities. And even though there was plenty of cheap farmland, many farmers who could have settled in North Dakota in the late 18 and early 1900s instead chose to settle further north in the Canadian prairies. This is due to the Aspen Parkland Belt, a unique ecosystem in the plains which has an abundance of rain, trees, and fertile soil. Heck, just the city of Winnipeg, 70 miles north of North Dakota, has a population greater than the entire state.
Mad. Do you reckon, like, America, you know how you guys have, like, 300-something million people? Do you reckon you guys will get to, like, 1 billion? You guys just gotta make a lot of babies, man. Because, like, I feel like you guys could support 1 billion people, right? Quite easily as well. You've got... I could be totally wrong with this, by the way. I have no clue what you need to support 1 billion people. Probably a lot. But you guys have a lot of money. You guys have a lot of land. You got a lot of job opportunities. I could be wrong with that one, but I'm pretty sure like you got a lot of companies. So I'm pretty sure you might have a lot of jobs. More people, more jobs, right? Because, like, you know, more people to buy things, more people to sell to, blah, blah, you know what I mean? So, yeah, just make more babies, man. And surely having it going from 300 million to 1 billion would actually help a lot, right? Surely? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think, like, about having 1 billion people to 300 million. I wonder what it'd be like.
Number 3, Alaska. Alaska is the big daddy of...
Wait, Alaska is empty? 700... Wait, I thought way more people lived in Alaska. I thought Alaska was one of the biggest
states. No, like...
I know it's big, but like, I thought like popular.
Literally, it's so big that if you cut it in half, either part would still be by far the largest state. Yet despite spanning 665,000 square miles, most of it is inaccessible and isolated. Not only is it a 40-hour, 2,200-mile drive through remote Canada to the nearest non-Alaskan U.S. city, even towns within Alaska are hundreds of miles apart, and many of the largest communities aren't accessible by car. In fact, there are barely 16,000 miles of road in the entire state. That's 5,000 miles less than Connecticut, and you could fit 120 Connecticut's in Alaska. Yeah, they ain't kidding when they call it the last frontier, a land where grizzlies, moose, and wolves walk around town, and where vast untamed forests, coasts, mountains, and tundra combine to make up an area larger than Mongolia. But for all its beauty, the wilderness is also a harsh mistress. A mere 733,000 residents are willing to brave the desolate, long, dark, and frigid winters where -40 Fahrenheit and less than 4 hours of daylight are common. And while Mongolia is both the emptiest and least densely populated country in the world, with just 5.2 people per square mile, Alaska's population density is 1/4 of that. And if you exclude Anchorage, the state's only real city, the population density becomes a paltry 0.5 people per square mile. It's no wonder Alaska has the highest violent crime rate and number of serial killers per capita. There's just so much space to never get caught.
Oh, dude! Bro, that's actually scary. That is actually scary. Like, that's where you'll disappear, bro. That is where you'll disappear.
I love the outdoors, but you couldn't pay me to live there. Well, you actually do get paid to live here, but you still probably couldn't afford it since everything is more expensive and the economy isn't great. Number two, Vermont. Besides being known as the home of Bernie Sanders, when most people think of Vermont, they probably picture cozy farmhouses tucked away amongst autumnal colors, with their inhabitants waking up to a blissful chorus of chirping birds and rushing water before lathering some Vermont maple syrup on a hearty breakfast. And they wouldn't be wrong. Despite being the 6th smallest state by area, Vermont is a rural haven in every sense of the word, with just 38.9% of residents living in urban centers. This, in addition to Vermont's mountainous and forested terrain not being ideal for building large cities, is the main reason it's so sparsely populated, with just 647,000 residents.
Wait a minute, I just looked at the map. Vermont borders Canada, and so do over half the states on this list. Is the real reason Americans don't live in them because they secretly just don't like Canadians?
You know, you might be onto something.
Is that true? Is that actually true?
But I think the more logical explanation is that Canada is cold, so states that border Canada are also cold, and most people don't like the cold.
Maybe.
With that said, Vermont's beautiful scenery, great affordability compared to the rest of New England, and thriving job market in Burlington has turned it into the most moved to state since 2020. So we'll see if it leapfrogs Alaska or North Dakota in the years to come. Now, before we get to number one, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and let me know which of these states you'd want to live in the most.
Ready.
And 3 honorable mentions that have larger populations than Maine, but are still virtually empty apart from 1 or 2 major cities are New Mexico, which houses 2.1 million residents, but since it's also the 5th largest state by total area, its population density of just 17.2 people per square mile is the 6th lowest of any state. And if you exclude the Albuquerque metro area, where nearly half of all New Mexicans live, the rest of the state is emptier than North Dakota. Idaho, whose population of 1.94 million did increase by over 100,000 residents in just the last 2 years, but the state is still very sparsely populated.
Wait, that's actually a really big increase. What's going on there?
With the most untouched national forest in the nation and just 22.3 people per square mile. And Nevada, which has a fairly large population at 3.18 million. But did you know that 83% of the state is completely uninhabited and 93% of the state looks like this?
Yeah, but we know why. It's a desert, bro. And Nevada, you know, it has LA. I'm not LA. Oh, what am I saying? Las Vegas. LA. Yeah, Nevada has LA, guys.
Plus, if you took out Las Vegas, whose metro area houses 3/4 of all Nevadans, the population density would be just 7.7 people per square mile.
But without further ado,
Number one, Wyoming. Unless you've been living under a rock or in Rock Springs, you've probably heard that nearly no one lives in Wyoming. But nearly no one isn't no one.
Does anyone here that's watching this video live in Wyoming? Anyone? Anyone?
While Wyoming is the 2nd least densely populated state with just 5.9 people per square mile, 581,381 hardworking, friendly Wyomingites still endure the windiest weather in America. And let me tell you, as someone who has visited the state many times, living in Wyoming's windy, remote, rugged, dry, cold, windy, elevated landscape isn't for the faint of heart, especially since there's no real cities and very few jobs and services. In fact, if it weren't for the government, Wyoming might not even have an economy at all. 25% of the workforce is employed by the state or feds. But this also makes it one of the safest states to buy a home. And if you want to know the other best states to buy property in 2024, there's a video on screen now.
Wait, that's actually crazy. 25% is like on government money. What? That hired by the government? Bro, what jobs do you get? Let me know if you live in Wyoming and what's it like. I really want to know. But really good video. Enjoyed that. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. You guys enjoy me, leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more content. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/Alfred. If you guys want to check me out over there, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.